Hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel, Dear English with Teacher Mervin. And today we'll be discussing lessons for grade 6 English. And this actually for quarter 3, module 2, which is divided into 3 lessons, namely identifying elements of the story, determining elements of a plot, evaluating narratives based on how the author developed the elements. But for today, we'll just focus first on how to identify the elements of the story. Are you guys ready? Okay, let's start. The elements of the story are the following. We have the setting, mood, characters, plot, point of view, and theme. Now let's focus first on the setting. When we say setting, this is the where and when of a story. It is the time and place during which the story takes place, or it is the where and when the action occurs. Now we have the details that will help you to identify the setting. So these are furniture, scenery, customs, transportation, clothing, dialects, weather, time of day, and time of the year. With all these things, it will be easier for you to identify the setting, if it's in the past, or maybe in the present, or maybe in the future. The setting and the story has also different functions. First, to create a mood or atmosphere. Next, to show a reader a different way of life. Third, to make action seem more real. Next, to be the source of conflict or struggle. And lastly, to symbolize an idea. We're now on the second element, which is the mood. When we say mood, this is the feeling that the author tries to convey throughout the story. It is the atmosphere or emotional condition created by the piece within the setting. Does the author want us to be happy? Or does he want us to be afraid or maybe thinking good thoughts or happy thoughts while reading the story? So those are the things under mood. Then, the third element is the characters. So characters are the person, animals, or things participating in the story. So this one is very easy. And characters are classified into two. We have the protagonist and the antagonist. When we say protagonist, it is the main character of the story, the one with whom the reader identifies. This person is not necessarily good. And when we say antagonist, it is the force in the opposition of the protagonist. This person may not be bad or evil, but he or she opposes the protagonist in a significant way. Number 4 element is plot. This is the organized pattern or sequence of events that make up a story. The literary element that describes the structure of the story, and it also shows the arrangement of events and actions within the story. Then we also have the parts of a plot. First, we have the exposition. Second is rising action. Third is climax. Fourth is falling action. And lastly, the resolution. So, what is exposition? When we say exposition, the characters, the setting, and the conflict or the problem are introduced in this part. And then the rising action, events that occur as a result of central conflict. And climax, it is the highest point of interest or suspense of a story. And we say falling action, the tension eases, meaning events show the results of how the main character begins to resolve the conflict. And lastly, resolution, this is the loose ends are tied up, meaning the conflict is already solved or it is the end of the story. If you're going to plot it in a diagram, we have this one. Okay, so number 1 is exposition, number 2 is rising action, 3rd is climax, 4 is falling action, and 5 is resolution. So, an exposition, this usually occurs at the beginning of a story. Here, the characters are introduced. We also learn about the setting of the story. Most importantly, we are introduced to the main conflict or the main problem in the story. And going up, we have the rising action. This part of the story begins to develop the conflict or maybe conflict. A building of interest or suspense occurs and leads to the climax. So meaning complications arise. And the third one, the climax. This is the turning point of the story. Usually the main character comes face to face with a conflict. The main character will change in some way This is the most intense moment in the story. And number 4 is the falling action. So action that follows the climax and ultimately leads to the resolution. And the last part, the resolution, is the conclusion. All loose ends are tied up. So either the character defeats the problem, learns to live with the problem, or the problem defeats the character. And we're now on number 5 element, which is the theme. When we say theme, this is the central idea or belief in the story. It is illustrated by the events of the story and the moral or lesson that you acquire from the story. So when you are trying to determine the theme of a story, ask yourself what the author is trying to tell through the characters and events of the story. Example, animal love, care, and compassion. And the last one is the point of view. This tells how a story is told. It may be in the first-person point of view, second-person point of view, third-person point of view, or omniscient point of view. Let's discuss first the first-person point of view. Here, the narrator tells the story from his or her own perspective. It uses the pronouns I, me, we, and us. In this point of view, the narrator or the storyteller is either the hero or heroine or the protagonist, relaying his or her experiences, or a secondary character telling the hero or heroine's story. Example, I am Teacher Mervyn. Today, I am telling you that we are all heroes. And when we say second-person point of view, this uses the pronoun you to address the reader. This narrative voice implies that the reader is either the protagonist or a character in the story, and the events are happening to them. Example, you are the hero who will save us. And third-person point of view, the narrator tells the story by relating all the actions of the characters using the third-person pronouns such as he, she, or they. It is the most common point of view in works of fiction. Example, he is the boy who is ready to sacrifice his life for others. And lastly, when we say omniscient point of view, here the narrator is all-knowing. All the thoughts and the actions of the characters are known to him or her. The pronouns used are he, she, or they. So we have the example here taken from The Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So we have this. While these things were happening at home, Amy was having hard times at Aunt March's. She felt her exile deeply, and for the first time in her life, realized how much she was beloved and petted at home. Aunt March never petted anyone. She did not approve of it, but she meant to be kind, for the well-behaved little girl pleased her very much, and Aunt March had a soft place in her old heart for her nephew's children, though she didn't think it proper to confess it. And we also have here some techniques or strategies used in a story. First, we have suspense. When we say suspense, it is excitement, tension, curiosity. Sometimes you don't know exactly what is happening, or you don't know what will happen next in the story. Most of the time it will be a surprise. That's suspense. And number 2 is foreshadowing. Hint or clue about what will happen in the story. So meaning there are some objects or maybe people or person that will be shown at the first part of the movie, or maybe first part of the story. Then later on it will be discussed, or it will be revealed in the middle or maybe at the end of the story, their significance. Then the flashback interrupts the normal sequence of events to tell about something that happened in the past. So they're using the strategy, the flashback, to let the reader understand what really happened in the past. And number 4, symbolism, use of specific objects or images to represent ideas. So there are some objects or maybe things or people or anything that are being used in the story, and then later on they have this very important meaning or connection in the story. For example, what is the meaning of the color yellow or red, or what is the meaning of the ball in the story? So they're symbolizing something. Then personification, when you make a thing, idea, or animal do something only humans do. When you let the objects, animals walk or talk like human beings, So that one is under personification. And the last one is the surprise ending. This one is the conclusion that reader does not expect. Sometimes it will disappoint us, or sometimes it will make us happy, or of course it will sometimes surprise us. Okay, that's why we call that surprise ending. Alright, we're done. I hope I was able to enlighten you, or I was able to help you on how to identify the elements of the story. And on our next video, I'll be discussing on how to determine the elements of the plot. And before I say goodbye, I would like to say thank you to pexel.com for the images that I used for the presentation or discussion a while ago. And of course, if you're new here on my channel, please don't forget to like and of course subscribe and share this video. Bye bye for now, and I hope to see you again next time.